Charlie Sheen had a public meltdown. Conrad Murray was convicted for taking the life of Michael Jackson for giving him substances. We're constantly watching Lindsay Lohan walk in and out of court dealing with her substance issues. So we're going to kind of, what's going on here that so many celebrities seem to have addiction? Dylan Howard is back with me, and joining me, as I said, my good friend and former co-host of Loveline and the author of Rich Man, Poor Man. It's an e-book, right? Adam Carolla. Yes. All right, Adam, you've been listening backstage to some of these 901 tapes. What's your take on all this?
Well, first off, I always think it's weird that we get to listen to the tapes.
Well, I was thinking that too. I thought
way too intrusive for me.
I think here's the first Hollywood note, which is remember you're going to be on the air when you call 911. Somebody's going to.
That's why I always plug AdamCarolla.com when I'm calling in. I invent fake accidents. Hey, we got a car on fire. AdamCarolla.com. So it's weird and intrusive, and then I sit back there and I have the same thoughts you have, which is, are we vultures, or are we helping to educate the public who are going to do whippets? You know what I mean? I know you think of yourself as an educator, and you think of yourself as a vulture. But what am I? Am I the branch you two are sitting on?
You're the crow chasing us around.
Well, I'm saying, that, so on one hand, it's wildly intrusive.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, if we can save a few people from these tales, then it's a good thing.
And I want to remind people, I did some research. I don't know if you know where this still. I did some research on celebrity. Well, you were subjected to me doing that research. Remember, I used to come in with those questionnaires. I drove Adam to distraction. I'd come to the Loveline every night with these personality questionnaires, and we'd ask all these celebrities to fill this stuff out. And we found lots of trauma, lots of narcissistic personality constructs, lots of addiction, more than average, more than the average population.
But everybody wants to be altered, I do believe.
There's a natural human instinct for that, yes.
To escape, you turn on the news, you see what's going on in Darfur and even Darfur and Dar6. It's horrible over there. And you want to get out. You hear about all the news is nothing but
let's
negative.
Let's say this. You want to regulate. You want to feel better.
Yes, or not feel anything.
Well, some people.
So when you're a roofer, you have to be at work every day at 7 a.m. on a roof, and you can't fall off it, otherwise you can't be a roofer anymore. So as a celebrity, you got weeks alone at home. You got all the money you need. You don't have to drive yourself.
Nobody to say no.
And it's really easy to regulate or self-regulate or self-medicate.
And by the way, and in those downtimes, maybe nothing to distract you too from the life coming in. And
if that roofer fell off there, and there was a 911 call, though, that would still be available for public consumption. It's just that we're living here in this era of celebrity, whereby we consume
Speaking of celebrity, behind Dylan's head,
I don't understand what he's saying.
He's got a weird accent. That's why I went on past
Demi Moore fell off a roof. She did. Okay.
Charlie Sheen, behind you guys on the big screen there. He had a very public meltdown. It was obvious what was going on. He became severely manic. Did we learn something from that one, Dylan?
Well, I'm not sure whether... Was that the withdrawals from drugs? Remember, of course, Dr. Drew, I drug tested him.
No, that was not withdrawal from drugs. Here's what that is, because it happens all the time with my patients. That was, you do enough stimulant, you eventually trigger a manic state, and you're high all the time. In fact, my cocaine addict patients get envious of their buddies who become manic because they don't need to do drugs anymore.
So it would be not surprising, though, that he produced negative for some 25 substances.
Of course. He was off. He was just manic, and then he started coming down. That's when they start using again. Now, it looks like somebody got to him and is helping him because he's much, much better.
Well, I've learned that 2.5 Men is a juggernaut. It's a train that can never be derailed. Like, we could plug in Charlie Manson and forget about this, Charlie. Like, get Manson in there, would still get a 19 check.
Could it well be, though, that Charlie Sheen is still using drugs? We don't know.
Sure.
And we can speculate. Could it quite well be that he's still using and he's just reached a level of functioning ability?
Listen, shouldn't celebrities do drugs? I mean, you want airline pilots doing drugs and guys who drive cranes and backhoes? If there's any segment of the population that should be doing drugs.
Except
they can do it. So Robert Downey Jr. breaks into some guy's house and sleeps in his bed once in a while. Big whoop. But an airplane pilot high on drugs, we got a problem.
What about a Lindsay Lohan?
I know,
high
Lindsay's
on
behind
drugs?
you here, and but Lindsay's sort of, people would argue that these are kind of role models, and it sets a standard. I'm not sure that they are. I think they just reflect what's going on in the world.
Models.
They are role models.
They are role models. Yeah. We talk at length about those Kardashians, and that the generation that consumes them are impressionable people. People consume celebrity more than any other beat in the news cycle at the moment. So all these celebrities are indeed role models, and they must take accountability for that, whether they like it or not. If they derive an income from their movies that are consumed by populist people, then they ought to take a level of responsibility, is my view.
What do you say to that, Adam? Is that why the British media is so tough on celebrity? They want to hold
Well, you keep assuming I'm British. I'm Australian.
They
make money off it, you're right.
And he's from New Jersey anyway. He has an accent. He's just trying to get a little street cred. If he spoke in his normal, he's from Poughkeepsie, actually. If he spoke in that tongue, no one would listen to him.
You're Aussie, right? Is that
I'm
right?
Aussie, but
Yeah.
You're right. The British media is so much more tough
But
on their
is it
celebrities.
that? Is they're holding him accountable to something, or is it just making money like Adam said?
No, I just think, well, to be honest, I think it was Rupert Murdoch that went in there and created this new form of celebrity media some 20 years ago that perhaps wasn't quite the same anywhere else.
And you as a little boy growing up thought, man, that guy's got it right.
Yeah.
I want to be a part of that.
Yeah. Here's the part I'm not buying off on, that you lose all forms of identity and protection because you're a celebrity. That part where a guy can jump out of the bushes, film you, throw it up on TMZ. They sell commercial spots on TMZ or radar. They sell commercial spots off your likeness. If George Clooney does a commercial in Japan to pay him $8 million because they used his likeness.
Well, your point is if that were somebody singing and they used that, they'd have to pay for that.
Right.
So rather just the likeness somehow is something the public owns?
You're profiting off a celebrity, and you're not compensating the celebrity. I don't get
But they
that
get the
rule.
lick on the back end when they release a film and they make $25 million off it.
They do not sign a release.
Should there be a new law? Should there be a law to protect them?
Can shoot. Of course there should be.
Nah,
they shouldn't be able
crap.
to sell commercial space.
That's absolute
Are
crap.
you insane?
It's
You're selling their likeness.
Okay, what about Politico.com and the politicians? So they sell advertising off the political news cycle.
You should not be able to profit off of someone who doesn't participate in that profit.
What about their story? What if saying their image gets protected? What about the stories? Could the stories be profitable?
I guess if it's news, but there's a difference between, ship sinking and George Clooney getting a new girlfriend. I'm just saying, if you're making money off George Clooney should get to be able to wet his beak. And I don't mean just in his new girlfriend.
And how is one meant to come back to argue that after that joke? One cannot. One question I'm asked a lot about Dr. Drew is...
10 seconds, and I got to go. I got to get Adam out of here before I lose my job.
Are drugs more prevalent in Hollywood than anywhere else in the world? I think not. They're just under a greater microscope.
Yeah, every guy worked construction was an alcoholic and a drug addict. All construction.
So it's the same as construction and nothing else. Thank you, Adam.